This time we have defensive coordinator Zac Alley. Questions for Coach Alley, Greg?
Zach, take me through putting together your defensive schemes a little bit. I mean, I'm interested because the two-bandit look that you used this week, and is this something you start in the spring and rep through, or is it a mad scientist the week of the game? I'm going to throw this at it. How does it work for you? How do you put this together?
Yeah, some of it's things we've done before and we have worked on. Other things is kind of like right before I come in here, I come up with them, and we decided to put them in and teach them this week. So, it kind of varies game to game. There were some consistent looks and things we've done in the past that we get to. But then obviously every week we're going to have something game plan wise that we will do to that team for whatever it is that they do that week.
So why was the two-bandit look appropriate this week? Was it something you saw out of Pitt, something you thought out of your defense? What was it that made it effective?
I thought, two things. I thought that we could, confuse the quarterback in that look, with kind of moving guys around and playing them different places. Gives you more coverage variations and things you can do. And then secondly, we hadn't really shown that, and I knew they wouldn't be prepared for it.
You also went with three high safety. Some people call it the cloud coverage at times later in the game. And I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Perry back deep in the middle. What does that alignment give you in any packages other than, say, third and longs?
Yeah, it creates, confusion in disguise. The pre-snap look is very similar every time, and so it's harder on offenses to pick up on where you're going, who's going where, and then, if they're trying to read a particular guy or do something like that, sometimes that read changes in ways that in base four-down defense it wouldn't. So it gives you just kind of versatility from a coverage standpoint.
How many different schemes or ideas do you have in the back of your mind that you can throw out? I mean, are there hundreds? And do you just keep them in the back, not wanting to show them all early, save them for later in the season?
Yeah, Coach Green always says, don't take notes on Monday because I'll have 1,000 things on the board, and there's 25 things I want to do, and we'll have to narrow them down. So, there's things you watch that you like. There's things that you've done in the past that, you can remember that might be good. This correlates. Hey, this team's similar to this team. We did that, 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever it is. So it comes from both film study. Sometimes I'm just like, let's try it, see if it works. And then other times it's things that I know we've done before that can be effective on the scheme we're playing that week.
Playing this team, one unique thing I see, the quarterback and the two running backs have single-digit numbers, and they're about the same size, about 6 feet, 220, that kind of thing. Is it tough to figure out, okay, who's got the ball and the things that they do because those guys are so similar?
I would say probably not necessarily from an appearance standpoint, but I think they do an amazing job on offense. I mean, their shift motion trade and hand it off to the quarterback who hands it back to the running back and vice versa and all those type of things to get you off balance and try and make you stagnant. And so I think they do a great job as far as creating, eye candy for the players and confusion up front and communication just overall. And part of that is, the different ways they get to using the quarterback.
How much does the fact that you're going to have a mobile quarterback coming up that you're going to face? You just faced a mobile quarterback. A week earlier you faced a mobile quarterback. They're not exactly all similar quarterbacks, but how much of an advantage does that give you going into this matchup instead of it being the first time you faced a quarterback that had ability like this?
Yeah, I think that it's obviously a help. The guys have seen it. They see it in practice too, and I feel like everybody nowadays, there's no more like stiffs back there that can't run around. I feel like that's kind of become a requirement almost to play quarterback. So I think our guys are pretty used to it, and I feel pretty good about, just the understanding of how good of a player he is and how he moves around.
What does Daniels do well that distinguishes him from others that also move around? As you mentioned, everyone moves around these days, but he moves around a little bit more effectiveness. He kind of stands out even amongst the mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, the first thing, some guys move and they can't throw it. He moves, and every piece of grass on the field's able to be hit by the ball. You got to guard everything from the field comeback to the boundary fade. I mean, he can throw any route combination on the field. He can get the ball there 40, 50, 60 yards down the field and with accuracy. And that's something that's unique for a guy who can move so well. he scrambles around the pocket and they move him in the pocket a little bit, and he makes guys miss, and then he throws it on a rope at 50 to a guy coming across the field. So I think he does a really good job as far as when he gets out, breaks contain, those things. He's still looking down the field. He's trying to complete passes, and then if he decides to run, he is a threat. So you have the issue of, man, you stay in coverage, you come up, and he kind of plays that game really well.
Similar to the high U guy, or are there similarities there, or the different conflicts maybe with what they present?
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar, as far as how they move, how they run around. I thought that Parker was a great player. I think Jalen's a great player. They're schematically slightly different as far as how they use the guys, but very similar as far as ability and those type of things. I don't know, hard to judge who's faster or better. They're both pretty good.
Give me the genesis of an idea, like last week when you played with two bandits, how that comes about, how you see it, develop it, and when do you know you're going to use it?
Yeah, I think I'm always trying to think players as much as I am plays. How do you get guys in positions to be successful and, help them do what they do well? And I felt like that was something that, we could do a better job of this past week was, hey, how do we put some of our better guys out there in positions where they can win? And that was one of the options was a guy like Curtis Jones is a great player, and you're trying to find ways to use him effectively and, help him with his skill set too. And so, it's a little bit of a blend of that and, what we're going to see from, their offense that week and what I feel like could work to keep them off balance.
Chase's injury have anything to do with it too?
I mean, that didn't help, as far as the group of linebackers back there. But, once Ashton decided to hit somebody else in the head again, we got a little bit thin over there. So, had to make some adjustments as well. But, hopefully Chase will be full speed this week. So, I don't know yet.
When you shut down ideas for the plan, I mean, obviously you have to get to the plan. How long can you go with thinking of things before you're like, this is what we got to lock in on?
Depends how good the idea is. We put a blitz in Friday morning before we played Middle Tennessee State in the walkthrough, and it got 2 sacks and a pick. So I'd say that was a good idea. But there are certain things you work, and you're never going to call everything you put in. I mean, it's just not going to happen. There'll be situations in the game where, you're going to work 3 or 4 3rd and 1s. Maybe you have 3 or 4 calls. Well, you might only see one of those in a game, so you're not realistically going to get to the other 3 calls. But you want to have diversity in the event it does happen, that you don't have to be in the same thing every time. So inevitably, you end up cutting things, that just by default of the situations of the game are never going to get called.
Through 3 games, what stands out to you about Curtis?
I think he's a very versatile player. He can play behind the ball. He's very instinctual. He can rush off the edge, as he showed the other night. He tried to play physical, and he's developing. It's the same thing. I mean, he hasn't played a ton. That was by far the most in-game action he's had in a critical moment, and I thought he played really well. But he's just very, very intelligent. He cares. He comes up here. He's here every day, all day long. I saw him this morning at like 7:30. I was walking up here, and he was in the bandit room in there watching film. And so you take a guy like that has good players around him, and you try and help him, develop and do what he does well to become disruptive.
What have you seen from Jamor in practice so far? What can you tell us about him to this point?
I mean, he looks pretty good. I'm excited that hopefully we can actually get him on the field this week. So it feels like it's been forever, an ongoing roller coaster from the time he got here. But, he's obviously very athletic, can rush the passer, plays physical to point of attack. All the things you saw on tape, from coming out of UTSA, I mean, they look true in person. But obviously this week, when he actually gets meaningful practice time, knowing he's going to play, I'm sure he'll elevate even more.
Coach, you've been getting turnovers every week now. Yet to break one for a defensive score, which is kind of the next step. Is that something you can work on? Is it something that just kind of unfolds? How do you wrestle your mind of, we're getting these, we're flipping the field, but I'm sure you'd like a defensive score every now and then.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's hard to score on defense. You know, you got to get kind of the perfect scenario. If KK doesn't drop the ball on the first play of the game, we probably score right there. Probably should have fallen on. I think we forced 5 fumbles we haven't even touched. Trying to get back. So we got to do a better job of recovering the fumbles first off. But, you know, I mean, both of it is, it's a little bit of luck of like where's the ball balances in a situation where you can get it in there. And then, you know, if you catch an interception, where's the interception caught? If you catch it 30 yards down the field in the middle of the field, it's tough to outrun all 11 guys, you know, compared to you pick one off in the flat. Like, you know, KK comes up with the last play, picks that one off, and, you know, he wouldn't have scored there. He probably would have went down. But, you know, that would have been a touchdown type of play. So it's a little bit of, you know, where do the turnovers occur to give you an opportunity to get there. And then, you know, sometimes like the first play, probably should just fallen on the ball and gotten the ball back.
I almost was going to bring up that first play, yeah.
Yeah, he's heard about it. It's all right.
Is that your change that you made? You didn't mention Siders. I mean, you started him on the line, and that gave you some flexibility there, I guess. Just his experience, the stuff he can do, how much did he help you, and anybody like that can help you with that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, this defense has lived on hybrids. I mean, we've done that for as long as I've been around, and going back to when I was with Coach V at Clemson, I mean, that's what we do. You know, we find good players and we find ways to use them in whatever they're good at. You know, when he was at Wyoming, he played like Sam Backer sometimes. They stood him up in the core. They played him off the edge. They lined him up at 3 technique. I mean, they did everything with him. And he's very comfortable doing a lot of different things. So, you know, he plays really, really, really hard and physical. And so that lets him play those kind of multiple positions and multiple spots to just try and help you, you know, have that diversity.
Looking at players who come from different levels, Division II, FCS, even Group of 5, you see what they do. What do you look for as far as like a translation to this level? And separate from that, do you kind of pencil them into what you do, what you have in mind, versus what they were doing in the defense at the level they were at, like their potential versus their reality?
Yeah, a little bit of both. You know, the first thing I would say, like, I told somebody this the other day, man, guys that make plays in high school make plays in college, and guys that make plays in college make plays in the NFL. That's just how it goes. You know, and so you're looking for guys who make plays, you know, some of them hopefully when they shouldn't, you know, I call it winning in the gray, when it's not perfect and easy and it's a layup, you know, hey, who wins? So you're looking for those type of guys that give you that. And then, you know, within the scheme, there are certain dudes that fit better than others, you know, based on what we do. And, you know, every now and then it's a little bit, we have to look introspectively. I'll say, hey, this guy's, you know, they got him out here playing nickel Sam, but he might be a really good starting boundary safety, you know, or vice versa. Hey, this dude's a 3 technique over here, but we think he's a defensive end for us, or whatever it is. There's a bunch of different ways that, you know, as you're assessing film, you're trying to figure out within our schemes, all right, what position would they fit at, and then what can they do to help us win?
Would you worry? Is he a guy that maybe down the road you could move around and band it in, that kind of deal?
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, he could probably put whatever you wanted him to. Put him at safety, he'd probably be able to do that too. But obviously, he's a great pass rusher, so you're going to try and rush him off the edge to affect the quarterback as much as possible. And you know, he's a big dude that plays physical, so same idea. I mean, he's got a lot of versatility to him as well.
Foster, preseason all Big 12 guy, center. What do you see from their O-line?
Yeah, I think they're really well coached, and they do a lot to help them. You know, the shifts, the motions, they run a bunch of different run plays. The quarterback's mobile. They use him in the run game too, and so you know, they help them and create advantageous leverage is how I'd call it. You know, like where you have to beat a block. But they're a really good O-line. You can tell they're together. They're coached really well. You know, they don't have a lot of, they busted and this guy's just free through the A-gap. That doesn't happen very often to them. So I think they're all, you know, a pretty cohesive and good group.
What was the message to your guys in that overtime period when you nearly had back-to-back turnovers? They called Holstein down, but there was a fumble, and then KK he dropped that interception. What was the message to your guys going into that?
That we win the game on defense. You know, that's the mindset that we've got to have. I said that in the huddle before we broke the thing. I said, man, we go win the game now. You know, we want it on us good. It should be put on us. You know, when the game's on the line, I want to be out there. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. And our guys played like that. You know, in the last moments, we played hard, all right, and gave the effort and the execution that you needed in critical moments. And good teams do that. You know, you step up when it matters the most. You play your best in those type of situations, and they did.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.